Yeah, and I'll pass on the baton to Apurva
Yeah.
to continue with his lovely photograph
Yes,
till
sir.
we reach 15, 16 hours,
Yes,
and
sir.
and we'll have one question or maybe two from Joydeep also.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
carry on.
yeah. Please time me. Joydeep, tell me before the time is up, right?
या
Okay.
या
Yeah. Okay.
जी लोगों का भी है, हम लोग उनको पकड़ेंगे अपूर्व.
Okay. ठीक है. Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. Okay. So I was talking about Shindavne Ghat, and I was talking about this fog sighting posts, which in a bad weather, if you can see this one, and from this post you can see the next one, which is some 150 meters away. That means you have good visibility. But else you've got bad visibility, and then that's what. I'm sorry. What are you seeing? Are you seeing the slideshow, or you see the presentation mode? On that. So
We are seeing a slide. We can
you're
see
seeing the
one
slide.
slide.
Okay, you can see the full screen, right? Okay.
Yeah, we can see full
Great.
screen.
Great, great, great. Okay, so now we move to passengers. There was a place in India which was called Dhulghat, and that was a spiral in the sense that we went from ground level to an upper elevation in the middle of the middle of the forest, without any other obstruction. There was no river, nothing, just to match the levels of tracks. So there was a spiral at Dhulghat. This is the image of a child who's sort of the child wants to look at the Dhulghat spiral which is coming ahead, but the child is distracted by the camera which I'm pointing at in the front. So this is again gone due to gauge conversion. The Dhulghat spiral is now a thing in the past, and the broad gauge alignment won't go over the spiral. It's going to take a different alignment. So this is some memories of fellow passengers. We had done a long trek in the Bhor Ghats, and we were very tired, and we were coming home on the 31 down Hyderabad Express, and I found this old man sitting in my seat. I specifically ordered a window seat and I booked for it. But then he says, it's okay, you sit in the front. And we thought that this would make a good photo opportunity. So the old man was actually chaperoning this demure lady, and he was reading a book called The Bedroom Jokes. And then he was passing a lot of gas. I'm sorry, but that's what was happening here. And if I took pictures of him directly, I'm sure I would have been thrashed. But so I was with Lalam and I was with Ashish next to me, and so I made a big show out of showing them the different camera settings and what we are doing, and pointing it as if I was looking out of the window, but actually I was shooting my fellow passengers. It's the joys of traveling in Indian Railways. Sometimes you have very cute and very curious fellow passengers who pose very nicely in an empty train. This is what happens to a typical train when it comes into Mumbai. So most of the passengers get off at Dadar, and some of the passengers stay all till VT. So we normally believe in going to the buffer stops, right till the end. So even if we are close by to Dadar and we have to board a train for Pune, we will travel all the way to CSTM so that we can board the train right from the start. So you get scenes like this. This next scene is at Pachora. There was a very small narrow gauge section between Pachora and Achalpur. I'm not sure where.
Jamner.
Jamner and Pune. Yeah. So that's only a 40-kilometer section, and only one train in the morning, one train in the evening. It never made money. So this is a ZDM 4A locomotive, and it's A because it's got this additional set of wheels to distribute the weight over uneven tracks, the lightly laden tracks. So it's got these additional wheels, and there's a child who's either seeing a dog or he's seeing the snorting locomotive. I'm not sure which one. But these are typical scenes that you see if you are traveling in the sleeper class of a train. Talking of the smaller gauge, here is the assistant of a ZDM 4A from Motibag, and the assistant is checking the connections, the couplers and the brake connections of the crack train between Jabalpur and Nanpur. In those days, it ran only up to that, and this would have gone to Gondia and beyond. But now, because of the gauge conversion, all these are scenes from the past. But this train had a first class coach, and we were very lucky to have traveled in that particular coach before it got banished. I mean, the gauge conversion has taken it off, and now you have electrification. Very, very ordinary trains running in the section. But we did travel royally in those days in 2014. And so this is the assistant driver checking the connection before the start of the train at about 5:30 in the morning. Sometimes you just stop on the platform and something, a lady looks at you and she's safe because she's on the train and she doesn't mind looking at the photographer without worry because she's on the train. And this is the there's a mainline EMU. See, as a railway photographer, we are opportunists, we are voyeurs, and we have to record whatever we can as long as it pertains to the railways. So this is one of the very beautiful moments where this lady connected with me and she understood what I was doing. And it was one instant which will never come again, but I'm glad to have recorded it. I have fellow passengers who have woken up. The parents are still sleeping. It's cold, and all the other passengers are well covered. So this is the Akola to Mau passenger, and the child is awake and full of energy. And this is a meter gauge coach, so the windows are much lower, and that just suits a child of that height. So all the child has to do is look outside, and it's a little bit curious of what's happening with somebody who's got something pointing at the little child. And it's one of the magical moments that one has in Indian railway travel. We are on a very crowded DMU train between Katangi and Gondia, and there's absolutely no place to move. But I thought that this made a very nice scene of how the rural passengers in India travel. I'm switching to something which the older Indian railway users would understand, which is called toilet art. This used to be in a time where you had only visual clues. So you had ladies in traditional clothes, you had men with traditional clothes pointing at the conveniences. And this doesn't require a language as such, but this was, according to me, this is a piece of art. I'm too small a person to have collected these things. We had a chance in Daund Junction where they were going to demolish the old toilet block, which had one of these artworks, or two of the artworks, one for male and one for female. But the police chowki was right there, and we couldn't go in the night and from the demolished place, recover these things. But people in the heritage section of the railways should take efforts and save these pottery pieces from extinction, because they'll never come again. Here's one more toilet art from Nanpur Junction, and this is the male's convenience, the men's convenience. One more. So as you can see, they're very intricate, but they're pottery. So they have their, if they fall down, they will crack. But something that we need to save for posterity. Traveling on the narrow gauge is always magical, not very comfortable, but you do travel through much lesser travel line through rural landscapes of India. Surprisingly, it is cleaner. So in 2006 we had a chance to ride the inspection coach of BNR, And these are the scenes from the rear window of that particular train. I've hidden the face of the driver. Obviously, I'm in the locomotive inner section. What I want to talk about is something which the crew do at every curve, at every major curve. The driver looks back, the guard looks in the front, and they check their train and in the inner circle. So now this turn is turning to the left, so the driver can see it. If it turns, it's the curve is from the right, then the assistant driver will be looking back, and the driver and the guard would exchange flag or a green torch in the night, that there is no problem with the train. There are no sparks flying, nothing looks out of turn. In case there's a derailed carriage, you'll see that it is tilted out, and everything seems to be fine. And they exchange flag with each other, and they tell each other "Gadi barabar" or "train right." Now, this is something which goes on hundreds of times in a journey, and every bridge, every curve, every ghat section, the crews communicating with each other. It's not so obvious because it's in the middle of the journey, but the crews are really busy in the sense that to check their train at every curve. They just look back and they check that everything is okay. So this is one of those moments. Since I was illegally on the footplate, I've obscured the details of the driver, but the event remains. One more scene from narrow gauge going away, and sunsets in India are spectacular. And this is one memory from those trips. What I'm showing is the view of a small station in India, a narrow gauge station between Jabalpur and Nanpur. And you have the water pump, which is a hand pump for extracting water. Just 2 trains a day, not very, 2 trains in each direction. Our next picture is at Nanpur Junction, where the narrow gauge locomotive is sleeping, and you have pigs. So you have lots and lots of pigs near the station, and just a happy picture. What else? Talking of pigs, this is another pig, and this is Akola Junction, very early in the morning. So this is about end of November in 2016. 31st December 2016 was the last day of travel on this line, and after which the meter gauge stopped. And this is the route from Akola to it just went up to Mau, but earlier you could go up to Ratlam, you could go even further north, and this would form a diagonal across India. You could go from, theoretically, you could, it used to go from, there was a train called Ajanta Express which went all the way to Kacheguda, but the connectivity was through, and you could go from Sri Ganganagar near Pakistan all the way to Rameshwaram by meter gauge if you wanted to. And again, we were very lucky to have traveled on this train before the services were ended at another 30 days time. So here you have a pig who's foraging the tracks, and this is around 5:30 in the morning, and the moon was rising and the sun was coming up behind. So by the time the train went, the horizon had turned red, but the moon was still rising. Again, magical moments that we could have just by traveling, spending 35 rupees on a ticket, which is not going to come again. A lot of railway enthusiasts call the WDG4 as pigs because they have the headlights in the place of every mature rail fan in nation has got plethora of slangs or nicknames that we use for railway hardware. So the WDG4s, WDP4s, EMDs are called pigs by the Indian railway enthusiasts. And here is a pair of pigs going on viaduct number 4 of Shindamne Ghat. Magical landscape, magical times. And in this place, if you're high enough, you can see a train coming from 10 kilometers away. You can hear it from maybe 5-6 kilometers away, and it comes to you. So you have lots and lots of time. Unfortunately, it's being doubled and electrified. Lot of dribbling is done. So I'm from the old school, which believes in single line and diesel traction, but the government doesn't agree with me. So that's it. Sometimes if you stand at the right place, you see an image of a train coming through a lot of shrubbery. And this is the train which travels from Tiruchirappalli to Sri Ganganagar. It's called Hamsafar Express, and it comes against in the morning to Pune. So this is again Shindamani Ghat, but we know where to go at what time and where you get the best shots. So it's one of the examples from that place. Something I want to show you in the next slide from Bhorghat. And Bhorghat is the ghat between Pune and Mumbai. What you see here is a section between it's between Khandala and Monkey Hill. And what you see is the two old lines in the sense that this is the up line. The up line in the railway parlance is the line on which a train is returning back to its headquarters. So headquarters for us is Mumbai of Central Railways. And so even if the tracks are 1 and 37 going downhill, they are the up tracks for us. So these are two locomotives going on the up track. This is a dedicated track for taking trains down the gradient. And this is a bi-directional middle line, which can be used for both climbing, that is down trains as well as up trains. And there's another tunnel, which is here. It's in this mountain. And that is your third line, which is dedicated down track, which means it is used only by trains which are climbing the gradient. And that's inside this tunnel. It's a 2.5 kilometer tunnel. And what you see here is it's a man-made waterfall, in the sense that anybody who has traveled in the Ghat section would have noticed that there are massive water pipelines which go below what is called as the Tata Bridge. And that Tata Bridge carries water from two dams which are near Lonavala. One is called Valwand and one is called Shirauta. So these two dams are they're separated by a mountain range. So water from Shirauta drains into Valwand. From Valwand, it goes on the pipelines all the way to Khopoli. And Khopoli, you have a power generation station which is owned by Tatas, and it is captive for feeding power back for traction, for electrification. It's one of the oldest generating stations for railways in India. The first one being at Thakurli, which is Chola Powerhouse. And this could be somewhere in that age. In 1929, when this line became electrified, you would need a lot and lots of power to help locomotives climb this steep gradient. So this water is perennial, in the sense that in the peak of summer also you'll find it. There is an installation, like I told you, this dam, and then there's an open water canal which goes to a point called a 4-bay installation, which is on top of this mountain up there somewhere. And this is the leakage from the 4-bay installation, which it goes through a tunnel. I have a picture somewhere else to show you that there's a tunnel which has been dug here to go through the mountain and dump the water into the valley. So,
Apur,
yes, sir.
if
We'll stop here.
we only have a few minutes left now,
Okay.
maybe we can leave time for a question or two.
Okay.
And then we
Right.
can continue later if
Yeah,
time
yeah,
permits.
sure. I'll stop here. Right.
Okay, so I will share it again, my screen. So here comes question number 8. Which is the last narrow gauge route that closed down on the Bengal Plains? In fact, Bengal Plains had several narrow gauge routes. Supplementary questions: who were the operators of this route before it became a part of Eastern Railway, ER, Purvo Rail? So here we will, of course, people from the eastern part of the country should be able to say this. Your time has already started, and your time stops now. And the answer
Yeah,
to
okay.
question 8 is
Yeah. Vemula Praveen has said Bardwan, which is partially correct.
Katwa to Bardhaman.
Yeah, and
But
Katwa, so Sushil Luthra immediately has replied Katwa Azimganj, which is partially correct in Bardwan. So we'll give it to Vemula Praveen for Bardwan, but just let me check. The correct answer is
Katwa to Balgona, because
Balgona.
the remaining part, because Balgona to Bardhaman, that has been first converted to BG, and then that part had services, and then Katwa to was later on converted.
Okay.
So they are now
And the
electric attractions.
operator is MacLeod and Company.
Yeah, that is a difficult question. Most people will be able to.
Okay, right.
We just go fast with another question, and this is something with Delhi Junction. Delhi Junction has 6 towers. What is special about Tower 4? Time starts now. Everybody who has walked on Northern Railway should be knowing it. We are expecting the answer from railwaymen now. Erstwhile railwaymen who are now railway enthusiasts, they should be answering this question. Your time is up, and the answer to the question 9 of Purva is Tower 4 is used as a water tank at Delhi Junction.
Okay.
Maybe we can send this question to the CRB also.
Okay.
Sure, he घबरा जाएगा Delhi Northern Railway का GM घबरा जाएगा.
Okay, 1600 hours. I think we stop here.
We will start now.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you once again, Joydeep and Apurva.